David Goggins was born in Buffalo, New York in 1975, under a roof that should have been safe. But it wasn't. Behind the doors of his family home, violence ruled. His father, Toughness Goggins, ran a roller rink business and demanded absolute obedience through fists, fear, and control. David, his brother, and his mother suffered years of abuse that left invisible scars deeper than any bruise. By the age of 8, David had seen more darkness than most grown men. His nights were haunted by screams. His days were filled with fear. At school, he struggled, both academically and socially. The trauma made him quiet, withdrawn, broken. But there was one person who refused to let him stay broken: his mother. She eventually escaped with David, leaving Toughness behind. It was a decision that may have saved David's life. Yet the journey ahead was still a gauntlet. Life in small-town Indiana wasn't much kinder. As one of the few black kids in a mostly white school, David was relentlessly bullied. Racial slurs, isolation, humiliation. He began to internalize what he heard, that he was dumb, slow, worthless. By high school, David's self-esteem was in tatters. He was barely passing. He stuttered. He had a learning disability. And he was nearly 300 pounds by the time he hit his early 20s. On the outside, he looked like he was falling apart. On the inside, he was already broken. But there was something brewing in him. A quiet voice, barely a whisper. It said, "You are not finished." Working as an exterminator, David spent his nights killing cockroaches in restaurants. One night, drenched in sweat and chemical fumes, he looked in the mirror. What he saw disgusted him. A man hiding from life, making excuses, slowly dying. Then he saw a documentary on Navy SEALs. He was mesmerized by their toughness, their grit. For a moment, he imagined himself there. And then he laughed. He was too fat, too broken, too stupid, wasn't he? That night, the whisper inside him roared. He picked up the phone and called recruiters. Dozens turned him down. Finally, one recruiter agreed, but only if he could lose over 100 pounds in 3 months. It was physically impossible. Or so they said. What followed was pain, suffering, isolation, and glory. David pushed his body beyond every limit. He ran on fractured legs. He studied for the ASVAB with learning disabilities. He slept barely 4 hours a night, pushing every second to make the deadline. And he did it. He lost the weight. He passed the test. He entered the Navy. Then came Hell Week, the Navy SEALs' brutal rite of passage. Most candidates quit. David went through 3 times. Broken legs, pneumonia. He kept going. He was not the fastest, not the smartest, but he was the hardest. He earned the trident. Becoming a SEAL wasn't the end. It was the beginning. David battled with PTSD, with doubt, with his old self. He knew the war inside him wasn't over, so he searched for new ways to master his mind. He ran. Then he ran farther, 100 miles, 200 miles, in the desert, in the snow, through pain, through blood. He became an ultra-marathoner. He set records for pull-ups. He published a book, Can't Hurt Me, that tore open his scars for the world to see. And people didn't just listen. They changed their lives, because they saw something in him they had forgotten in themselves. The power to choose pain, to choose growth, to become more. David's philosophy is brutal but simple. Callous your mind. Every day do something that sucks, something that scares you, something that breaks the limits you think you have. He teaches that motivation is nothing. Discipline is everything. Pain is not your enemy. Comfort is. This message strikes a deep chord, especially with people over 30, those facing midlife doubts, divorces, dead-end jobs, depression. Goggins speaks directly to them. You're in a fight, but you have weapons. Use them. David Goggins isn't superhuman. He's proof that the human spirit, when ignited, is limitless. He was abused, obese, broken, and he became a Navy SEAL, world-class athlete, and author. His story is not about heroism. It's about choice, the choice to fight, to not be average, to suffer for greatness. And now, the choice is yours. Will you stay where you are, or will you rise? Goggins' influence stretches far beyond endurance races or book sales. Veterans dealing with PTSD, single parents struggling to survive, overweight men and women afraid to change, their stories pour into his inbox daily. He doesn't answer every message. He doesn't need to. His story answers them. One woman wrote, "I was going to end my life. Then I read your book. I ran 5 miles the next day. I'm still running." A firefighter with a broken back told Goggins he got out of his wheelchair because of him. Goggins didn't preach to save people. He suffered out loud, and in doing so, gave others permission to do the same. One of Goggins' most famous teachings is what he calls the 40% rule. When your mind tells you you're done, you're really only at 40% of your potential, he says. That's the point when most people quit, when it gets hard, when it burns, when the voice says, "Give up." Goggins says that's where you begin. That's where greatness is found. This idea has been adopted by professional athletes, CEOs, and even special forces across the globe. Because it's not just physical, it's psychological reprogramming. When the average man gives up, the warrior takes one more step. David Goggins continues to push. In his late 40s, he's still running 200-mile races, still waking up at 4 a.m., still looking for ways to break himself down and build again. He says he's not chasing happiness. He's chasing fulfillment, the kind you earn from doing hard things when no one is watching. The finish line, for him, doesn't exist. There is always more to give, always another mountain to climb, and that's his final message. Never arrive, always pursue. David's journey revealed a set of tools, honed by suffering and sharpened by experience. 1. Accountability mirror. He wrote down his failures on Post-it notes and stuck them to his mirror. Each morning, he confronted them. Not with shame, but with purpose. 2. The cookie jar. A mental reservoir of wins and breakthroughs. When he felt weak, he reached into his mind and reminded himself, "You've been through worse. You didn't quit then. Don't quit now." 3. Taking souls. When opponents expect you to crumble, give them your best. Break their expectation. Take their soul. These tools weren't motivational gimmicks. They were survival tools, weapons forged in battle with the self. You don't need to run a 100-mile race to be Goggins. You don't need to be a SEAL. You need to confront your excuses. You need to fight your softness. You need to suffer on purpose, for growth. That means getting up earlier, doing the workout you skipped, having the hard conversation, changing the diet, leaving the toxic job. It means doing what 99% won't, and slowly you become unrecognizable, not to the world, to yourself. Goggins' story is not just about overcoming, it's about weaponizing pain, the abuse, the racism, the rejection, the fear. He didn't just survive these things, he used them. Every hardship became fuel. Every failure became fire. Every no became a reason to say yes to greatness. This mindset is why so many people over 30 relate to him. They've been through divorce, bankruptcy, loss. They carry scars, but those scars can be swords. One of Goggins' most important lessons is about the second wind. Not the one your lungs give you, but the one your soul gives you. When you think you've failed, when life punches you in the mouth, when you're face down in despair, you find it. It's small, it's quiet, but it's yours. And if you move from that place, not the fear, but the fight, you become unstoppable. If you felt something reading this, don't ignore it. That spark? It's not just motivation, it's a sign. You were made for more. Don't just admire Goggins. Become your own version. Run the mile. Have the talk. Start the project. Lose the weight. face the fear, suffer with purpose, and if you want more fuel for that fire, subscribe to our newsletter. Every week, stories of grit, transformation, and untapped potential. Because this isn't the end of Goggins' story, it's the beginning of yours. Subscribe now. Become your own hero.